Right, we should be live, and I hope we certainly are. And we are back at the Circuit of the Americas for the second race here on this weekend at RACE9, and we're going to see the second race of the IndyCar Championship as well. We are live in qualifying, and we can see drivers going around. My name is Stan Grimminger, and I'll take you through the evening, and as the expert today for Ian O'Leary, who's going to be our main commentator for today.
Yeah, good afternoon once again. Stan, it's good to be back with some more racing at the Circuit in the Americas this weekend. We've had a lot of them so far. We've had the NASCAR race last night. We've had the Indy Lights race earlier today as well. So, they've both been good races so far. And I'm hoping that IndyCar is going to deliver a similar kind of entertainment. We're currently in qualifying at the moment. Just over 4 minutes to go. Interestingly, though, our championship leader and the man who won last week at the St. Petersburg Street Circuit, Lucas Murno, isn't here. So we've got a complete unknown, really, as to who's actually going to win this one because he's not here.
Yeah, very odd to see the race winner not return, but we had that in NASCAR as well. And as you said, open game for basically everyone. Gustavo Brzezinski will surely have his hopes high for gaining another podium or even more, as he's currently second in qualifying. And you see somewhere on track. I cannot see it, unfortunately, because I don't have the overlay completely prepared. But he should be on track, if I'm not completely wrong. Yeah, we found him. So we can see him exiting off turn one and surely be on another flyer and hopefully, or at least for him, hopefully grabbing the pole position this time by. Of course, very technical circuit, the Circuit of America, that is, especially in the first sector or first 1.5 sectors until the very long straight, which isn't a straight completely, but still. The S's, very infamous S's, as we see Brzezinski exiting these and going onto the hairpin and then onto the long straight we just spoke about. Right. As I said, it's going to be, or as you said, it's going to be hopefully a good one, and I'm quite sure it will. It will be a good one to watch, at least for us today.
I think so. It currently, as we mentioned, in the dying moments of qualifying, really, which had a 10-minute qualifying session. Just about a quarter of that remaining. Jesus Chirinos is currently topping the standings. Came second yesterday in NASCAR around this very circuit. So he has been driving around here a fair amount in the last few days, I would imagine, practicing for both leagues as well. So we'll see if it's going to be converted to any kind of race result for him. Gustavo Brzezinski going through the long right-hander at the moment. I don't know if this is a flying lap for him or whether it's an out lap. I guess we'll find out as he comes over the line. But he's got a second to find to Chirinos, and that seems like an awful lot of time to be finding this late on. I can imagine he'll probably be reaching his limit. If he's not there already, then he's going to be quite close to it. So it's going to be hard pushed to find the second around the circuit, I would imagine.
Yeah, completely right. And it was apparently either he didn't improve or it was just an outlap, but he's going to have another good go for sure. These cars are, they can, that's his run ruined. And that's completely gone as he spun out of the first corner. We just caught that live. And he's now reversing, hopefully trying to make it around for another go. But slightly diminished his hopes for getting pole position. Anyways, finding a second around this circuit in these cars, yeah, as you said, later on, of course, quite hard to do. Of course, you can do 2 or 3 timed laps before you notice a slight change in tire behavior or tire performance to drop off the ideal lap time. But then again, you never know. Someone who might just came in unprepared and had no idea of racing these cars around very quick and just found perhaps something nobody else was thinking about, and you never know until the very end.
Absolutely, we're going to have to find out, of course, who's going to take this one in the end. But looking up and down the order at the moment, it seems that only Chirinos really is out there on a lap time. I think that Pablo Lopez also is. He's currently nearly 4 seconds off the pace, though, who came out, or got disqualified last time out in St. Petersburg. Don't know why. But for some reason, he was not able to finish the race and was disqualified for whatever reason. There were quite a few retirements as well in the actual race. that we saw only 10 finishers. I think 16 started, and 5 of those one of them was the disqualification for Lopez, but 5 of them were for crashes around that circuit. A very tricky circuit, but very easy to get it wrong as well. But yeah, a lot of people coming a little bit unglued on that last particular race, although the barriers are a little bit further away on this particular occasion, so it shouldn't be such an issue this time around.
Jesus Genius, I think, just posted the last lap time. It didn't improve any on that. I will come back to that, what you just said in the warm-up, because I know the backstory of that. But yeah, Brzezinski's also in the pits. That means his qualifying is done as the time has just run out. Andre Leite looks a little bit... Is he on a paced lap? I cannot tell, actually. Sorry about that. But I think he's on the timed lap. Yeah, and he's attacking, trying to improve for once. Once again... Pedro Lopez, it is. Yeah, from Brazil, not Pablo Lopez, from Spain. Sorry, that's a completely different car. Manuel Alvarez just finished in his run in 5th, and we see Leite going around the last corner. So it is a timed run, as I just said. And let's see if he can improve for the last shot he has. And he is... Yeah, well, it doesn't even tell me the lap time, so perhaps it wasn't a timed lap after all. And all the hype basically evaporated into nothing. There's one more car on track. That's the number... Which was it? Can't tell as the camera clips through the steep incline at the top. Number 16, a black and orange car, which just went over the line but didn't improve either as we jump into warm-up, or apparently not. No, we do. We jump into warm-up, and that means the qualifying's done. Ewan, take us through the results.
So qualifying complete after 10 minutes, and Jesus Chirinos takes the pole position by about a second in the end from Gustavo Brzezinski. Gabriel Pichli is in 3rd, not so far behind Brzezinski and not that far in front of the man in 4th, Andre Leite, who did improve right at the end. I believe Manuel Alvarez is 5th place, but I don't quite know because the game has taken away the standings from me. Here we go. I can look at them again. Manuel Alvarez was 5th ahead of Matias Gomez, who was 6th. Pedro Lopez in 7th ahead of Carlos Vinicius in 8th. Paulo Lopez in 9th. Gabriel Prado in 10th. And Carlos Frau, who's just joined now, didn't qualify, I don't believe. He'll be starting 11th. And so, he'll be being his race pace can do the talking for him. But yeah, we're in warm-up at the moment. 10 minutes of warm-up, I believe. I thought it was going to be 5, actually, but 10 minutes of warm-up for the moment. And then we'll be getting into 45-lap race, which is what we've got tonight.
Yeah, right. I think we don't run the full time of the warm-up indeed, which means we're going to jump into the race any moment's time, as soon as the drivers are ready and the admins are as well. Right. Should I come back to the Lopez incident from St. Petersburg? I should.
Yes, you can do. Yeah.
I will. He was disqualified actually for losing a wheel and still continuing on and getting it into the pits and get it repaired, and then losing the wheel once again. But in theory, the race is over as soon as you lose the wheel. He was just lucky that he got slight hiccup on the mod building on that regard, I guess. But first race, stuff like that happens. And kudos to him for actually making it back to the pits without even further damage. But out of fairness, it's that the race control or the stewards decided that he is not... he's not finishing on the position which he actually finished, which should have been like 10 or 9th or something like that. So not too far up the order, but just like in real life, you lose a wheel, it's over.
Yeah, absolutely. As we said a little bit earlier on as well, though, it shouldn't be such a problem around here because, as you can see, there's tarmac on much of the outside of this circuit, should I say. And so the barriers are a little bit difficult to hit, really. In the race and in qualifying, so we shouldn't see that become too much of an issue this time around. But you never know with these. And speaking of the tarmac that lines this circuit pretty much everywhere around here, there was a bit of a discussion in the briefing about track limits around here, and obviously it's going to be a very big talking point once again because it's so easy to overstep the mark here and just cut the circuit in so many different ways and extend on the exit of corners. that we're bound to have those kind of rulings. So these guys have been warned about the track limit situation that we have around this particular circuit, and obviously they'll be hoping and they'll be expected to respect that throughout the race and keep it within the white lines on the circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of these guys, like Jesus Yunus, who we just look at now, also participated yesterday in the NASCAR race. And NASCAR is not so strict on circuit on track limits in general, but of course these guys, these cars are open wheelers, and usually a little bit more maneuverable than the heavy brakeless NASCAR things compared to, of course, the agile open wheelers. So yeah, track limits are a thing. But I think some of these guys who participated yesterday in the NASCAR race potentially have like a slight chance of getting caught out on track limits, as we see some black and orange car just in the background, absolutely ignoring what I just said and taking it nearly to the wall out of the hairpin. But he continues on, and it's just warm up, so it's all good. Of course, it doesn't give any penalties or anything. Yes, that's struggle, of course, basically coming in, and as you said, with all the track width there is, and all the tarmac runoff, it's easy to sometimes forget where exactly a corner is.
It can be from time to time, especially when you're caught up in racing under the car. We saw a great battle between Brzezinski and Alvarez, I think it was last night.
Yes.
That those two were battling for much of the race, and they did kind of forget where the track went, but it was good entertainment. And so we'll be hoping for more of those kind of the same battles here tonight, because those two did have a great fight last time out. But these guys do just need to remember that they need to calm it down a little bit in terms of the track limits, and at least keep it on the road, especially when they're battling and getting caught up in those battles.
I have to say, though, I was just racing in the Indy Lights race just a few minutes ago, like an hour ago, we finished. And I was also fighting with Manuel Alvarez. And while it's, didn't want to say anything against him, hell no. But what I mean is, like, if you're racing, of course, it is easy to ignore track limits. It is easier to sometimes forget them. But on this track in particular, due to the low point that a driver has on track, especially into turn one or the hairpin before the long straight, it's sometimes difficult to get completely right the turning in point. You sometimes you just don't see it. You turn in blindly, and you find yourself a little bit more to the inside or outside that you actually want to, and just racing drivers as we are. I just say that everyone who has ever driven an online race knows that, especially you just take it. If you run wide or just go a little bit too far to the inside and gain a little bit of time here and there, and especially on this circuit, it is tricky with all these blind corners.
It can be from experience that we've all had in the past, be it wherever it was. And one more thing as well, just because war looks like it's about to complete itself. Actually, a lot of people saying that they're ready to move on. In the chat thing at the moment. It looks like we'll be moving on very soon. One more thing as well before we do get going is about the tyre compounds that these guys have to use today. We've got the red stripe ones, and we've got the kind of black stripe tyres for these guys. The softer tyres, the red wall ones, and the harder tyres are the kind of black with white writing on of the style tyres. They have to use both compounds throughout the race. I'm not entirely sure what the fuel window's like, what the tyre window's like. We know for NASCAR last night it was completely horrendous, the tyre wear and the tyre heating for these particular cars. But I'm not entirely sure what the situation is with the Indy cars with regards to what kind of length stints we might be seeing tonight.
Yeah, good point. Actually, I have no idea either. I can imagine we had that previously at the previous round, that the discussion that the blacks are not wearing out any faster or are more durable than the red ones. Of course, in theory, in real life IndyCar, the red ones are the softer compound and the black ones are the harder compound. But they're apparently quite equal when it comes to degradation, but not to performance. The red ones are still a lot faster than the black ones. So I think we're gonna see a very long or very lengthy stints on the red tires until drivers switch onto the black ones. So perhaps once the strategy, as the format has just finished, and we are apparently good to go into the 45 laps race here around COTA.
Yeah, it looks like it. So these guys are just going to get themselves ready. Now, got themselves about a minute to get themselves ready and on the grid in time. It's going to be Chirinos alongside Brzezinski on the front row at least, and then furthering on behind from that. But yeah, looking like it's going to be an interesting race. I mean, in qualifying, Chirinos was a good second quicker than Peachley and Brzezinski and Leite, who were all very, very close in that session. But in the practice session, we saw beforehand, Chirinos was a good 6 tenths behind Peachley, and in that little warm-up session there, he was being matched with Chirinos. So I think even though his qualifying pace is much better than everybody else's, it seems, his race pace might not be quite up to scratch compared to everybody else. So we'll wait and see, of course, as the race unfolds. But I don't think Chirinos is going to completely walk away with this win.
Yeah, he was trying very hard yesterday to actually grab it, and let's see if he kind of, let's say, learn, and if there's anything to learn for him. I mean, he just finished second yesterday, and now he's on pole again. If he learns and tries to, and perhaps, that's very tight from the safety car. Was that P2? Gustavo Brzezinski who just stalled right behind the safety car. Yeah, it was. And he's now trying to catch back up through the pack and now running onto the grass. But yeah, Chirinos is definitely the one who has to prove himself as a race winner once again. And it's going to be a very interesting one what these Bravo Racing guys just around him can do to prevent the sole C-Force Racing entry from winning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Chirinos came second last night, as you mentioned a few moments ago. Took that championship lead in the NASCAR series. And at the moment, he is, after only one race, of course, he's 9 points off Lucas Murno at the top of the IndyCar championship at the moment. But Lucas Murno not returning for this particular round. Not entirely sure why, but he's not here for the Circuit of the Americas race. So I guess the corrected championship leader, if you want to call it that, is Gustavo Brzezinski, because he finished second last time out, and he is here today. So he's got 4 points over Jesus Chirinos, but if either of these two win, then obviously they're going to go to the front of the championship standings. It's going to be very, very close between Chirinos and Brzezinski. I think they're quite well matched on pace. They're both on the front row of the grid, and they're not only fighting for a race win here today, but the championship lead as well. So the stakes are going to be very, very high between these two.
Right. Safety car is apparently having some sort of issue. It's gone very slow around the corners, and has caught out Gustavo Brzezinski once again. He's showing some nerves at this point, I feel like, or at least he's getting annoyed at this point very much and saying, what's going on? And all these guys just behind him were lucky to actually scatter around the stalling Brzezinski, who's certainly not going to be too happy. So already dramas right before the start even, and in the formation lap. But we're gonna come to an end at the very least at some point, and yeah, safety car is indeed a little bit slow to say the least, especially for guys driving in an open wheeler.
I mean, can't imagine they're getting much heat in their tyres, and also it's causing them to stack up in a crash almost at every corner. So yeah, it could do going a little bit faster, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing we can do about it.
Yeah,
so it's just the way it is, really.
But then again, yeah, as you said, it's just the way it is, and drivers have to deal with that as well. We can see Chirinos. Oh, that was a spin. I think there was a collision as well, somewhere in the mid pack. I was about to say. Sorry, go ahead.
There's Manuel Alvarez there from place. That's where he's going to be starting. If he can get back to his space in time, I think he will be able to very easily. Yeah, just trying to heat up the rear tyres really, and kind of overdid it there. And spinning around down at the left-hander, where we're going to see a lot of action, you can imagine, here tonight, because that's where a lot of the overtaking does indeed happen in that final sector after the back straight. And we've had turn 12 and the carnage that normally ensues there. It does all get very close. Sector 3, and now as the safety car stacks everybody up and causes one more crash before going into the pit lane, Looks like Jesus Chirinos is going to be on the pit limiter and then now in control of the field, which is going to mean a nice, tidy, hopefully, double file restart. 6 rows of cars, 12 on the grid here today for the race at the Circuit in the Americas. Round 2 of the RACE9 IndyCar Championship for 2021. Jesus Chirinos hits the gas and Brzezinski is comparatively sleeping there as Peachley gets alongside him and Leite looks to the inside of him as well down into turn number 1, but it's Chirinos who takes the lead around the first turn. Andre Leite goes from 4th place straight up to 2nd on the first lap. A great start from him, getting ahead of Brzezinski, and then it's Peachley who's down to 4th. Gomez is in 5th, battling side by side with Lopez, who actually overtakes him there on the opening lap. They all single file their way through Sector 1. Gabriel Peachley, Toronto already makes some moves on Gustavo Brzezinski here, trying to use some of his race pace. And if he doesn't get through on Brzezinski quickly, then he's going to see Chirinos go wildly up the road. He's down the inside straight away at turn 10, not wasting any time right now.
Yeah, these teammates fighting really hard. Red United just ahead. Oh, there's a move to the inside from Paisley, and he's actually making it stick. Super clean move, I have to say. Kudos to that. And he moves up into P3, and Brzezinski, after stalling it nearly 3 times on the warm-up lap, is now down to 4th at the moment. But Slipstream, is he able to bounce back? No, he sticks back. Of course, not fighting that hard against his teammate. It's basically a Bravo Racing team train at the lead, right behind Jesus Chirinos and is it Andre Leite in 2nd? It is, and he's now being caught up by Peachley very much, and perhaps making it not that hard for his A-team, so to say, teammate. And he just gives way, and that means Peachley is up into 2nd and Leite down to 3rd, and that compromises exit, which gives room for Brzezinski, who has to run wide, but that's not... that was super close. Actually, I think I'm getting confused at this point. I think Red United is a B team of OS Front Row, which weren't part of the front row anyways. So Brazilian into Brazilian fights we see here between the 2 big teams at .race9. But first lap done, and we see Brzezinski just made a clean move against Leite. Nothing he could do not much he could do about it. And now he's dropping back to where he belongs, at least from Bravo Racing Team's point of view.
Down to 4th place. That's where he started the race, of course. So that's where his qualifying pace, at the very least, was. And so, he's currently got Pablo Lopez on his tail. I believe no, Pedro Lopez. That's the first mistake of the day. You can chalk that one up. We're going to run out of fingers to count those kind of mistakes later on, I suspect, because it's easy to mix them up. But anyway, Pedro Lopez in 5th place at the moment. Start is 7th, so it's been a good start from him just for the moment. Further back, seeing some more battling as well. Carlos Vinicius and Pablo Lopez, the real one, is in 9th place ahead of Matias Gomez in 10th. So it's all going on as well in the lower part of the top 10 here. Looks like Gomez might try and go down to the inside of Lopez now into turn 12. Is he going to be able to make it stick under brakes? A lot shorter braking zones than we saw last night, I think it's fair to say, for these IndyCars versus the NASCARs, but it's not making any overtakes any less difficult, really. And Lopez has been overtaken there. Gomez is through into 9th place with minimal battling between those two.
What happened to Manuel Alvarez? I can't see him anymore. Oh no, he's still there in P6, that should be, if I'm not counting that right. Meanwhile, the Bravo Racing train just continues to scramble through the field, and they have now reunited once again against Red United, of course, was just right behind them. So they are in P2, 3, and 4 at the very moment. But Jesus Chirinos just walked away with the lead at the start. So had a good start, and then that's exactly where he is right now, 1st place, and controlling the field at the very moment.
He is indeed, but he's got Gabriel Peachley not too far behind him, just over 2 seconds at the moment. And when Peachley was stuck behind the likes of Leite and Brzezinski a little bit earlier on, the gap was about 2.5 seconds to Chirinos. He got it down below 2 seconds at its smallest margin, but now Peachley is starting to lose a little bit of time on this lap. He did make a bit of a mistake through the S's, as Andre Leite under pressure once again here. He was up to 2nd by the end of the first corner, but he's going to be down to 6th now by the end of lap 3 because Manuel Alvarez now gets down the inside at the hairpin and he goes through. Later he's going to get a big slipstream now though and go back to the inside at turn 12 quite possibly, and not taking no for an answer just for the moment. Is he going to go down the inside on the brakes? No, not really. He stays behind for now as the battles further back continue on between Gabriel Prado, Carlos Vinicius and Mastius Gomez, who goes down the inside of everybody, trying to take 2 positions for the price of 1. Vinicius goes around at turn 12, makes a slightly dangerous rejoin, but he's got back onto the circuit. And Gomez and Prado continue to battle, both off the road at turn 13. Bit of contact between them, bit more contact. Gomez goes very, very wide indeed. Prado follows him, but he gets into 7th place.
Yeah, it was very wild to see, and it shows you can, under good circumstances, even go 3 wide in these IndyCars on road courses. Still, nevertheless, good fight, and that we saw good action going on, and Mateus Gomez is working his way through the field really nicely. Qualified down in, well, must have been 11th, if I'm not completely wrong, and he's now up to, as you said, P7 already. So good way through the field for him. Of course, another one of these Bravo Racing guys, and while he's fighting another one of the OS Front Row Racing guys, just right behind him in the form of Gabriel Prado. Easy to mix up with Gabriel Peasley as well.
Yeah, a little bit. All these people having the same first name, it's just terrible. Anyway, Carlos Prado has got through into the top 10 now. Carlos Vinicius, after that spin at turn 12, has meant that he's dropped now a good 4 or 5 positions actually in all that. So he's down to 11th, but he's not last for the moment. Anthony Delara is indeed last, and he's got a bit of a funky design going on at the moment. But we'll get that fixed for the next race because there's not a lot we can do about that right now. But anyway,
I have no idea what you're talking about. It's absolutely fine.
Oh yeah, yeah. They normally look like that. I promise. No, it doesn't matter. But anyway, those guys are further towards the back, but they are actually having the closest battles for the moment. Chirinos and Peachley are still 2 or 3 seconds apart, both on the red stripe tyres right now. So is Brzezinski. Lopez is also on the red stripe tyres along with Alvarez. Leite is on the kind of black or the white world tyres, the harder tyres to open this race. That explains his lack of pace. He had a fantastic start getting up into 2nd place, but he's dropped 4 spots since, and this explains it really, the fact that he is on the hard tyres right now.
But still, having such a good start that he arguably had, and then basically just working his way around, not making too hard of a defense, and saying, okay, you are on the faster tires, do your thing, just pass me on the inside and leave me alone, and I do my thing, and we see each other at the end. It's a good strategy, and I think for my liking, he's not too bad on a run at the very moment. Black tires are said to be about 2 seconds slower, but that was for St. Petersburg, which is a much slower circuit. So taking that into account, I think with a gap of 13 seconds to the front, it's still a very good. He's still on a very good course for a good result today.
Absolutely, we just got to wait to see how the race plays out, really, because it's one of those where it's not going to be immediately apparent who's going to win it, and it's going to slowly evolve as the race goes on, really, to find out who's actually going to win it. Gabriel Peasley coming under a little bit of fire right now from Gustavo Brzezinski, and he's letting the gap open a little bit to Jesus Chirinos, who's just about got it out to 4 seconds as things stand right now. Gabriel Peasley didn't actually score any points. St. Petersburg crashed out of the race, unfortunately, but he's coming back for the Circuit of the Americas, trying to do a little bit better on this occasion. He's going pretty well. 2nd place for him right now, just about 5 seconds away. So it seems that Chirinos is starting to extend the gap a little bit, and when you've got somebody closing down on you like Gustavo Brzezinski is right now, you do tend to look in your mirrors a little bit more, and it does tend to make you just that little bit slower.
Yeah, I can tell you that exactly from my experience I just had when I was yellow flags out. What was that for? Was it just huh? Well, that was very odd, I have to say. I just got yellow flags on my screen, but can't tell for who it was. Nobody in that part of the circuit anyways. That's very odd. Anyways, back to if you look into the mirror, of course, if you have to defend, it certainly compromises your concentration on going ahead. And I just noticed that in the at the very moment in the Indy Lights race where Manuel Alvarez was closing in on me, who's now into 5th, so he got good practice in the lower class here around COTA. And tell you what, if you have someone like him in your mirrors and you're trying to win the race, it's actually not helping at all. And so even if these guys are teammates, it is certainly not helping Gabriel Peasley. Anyways, as you just said. Speaking about teammates, I'm kind of surprised that Pedro Lopez, is it Pedro Lopez? Yes, it is Pedro Lopez, had to let go of the Bravo Racing team train. But here we are, and he had to let go a little bit, and he's now kind of on his own at the very moment, while his teammates just ahead continue fighting for P2.
Brzezinski dived it really hard into the left-hander there and nearly went into the back of his teammate, but he's staying just behind for now. And things are going okay for him. Going, not side by side just for the moment, but nose to tail as they go through the penultimate turn and about to complete lap number 6 here. A little bit wide for Gabriel Peasley at the final corner onto the AstroTurf, which is going to reduce his traction massively. And Gustavo Brzezinski doesn't need a second invitation to go through. Peasley's going to get a second opportunity, though, down into turn 1 maybe. Big slipstream from his teammate, but no move made down there into turn 1, or up there into turn 1, as Manuel Alvarez is into the pit lane after only 6 laps. So he was on the softer tyres, the red stripe tyres, for the first part of this race. He's put the black tyres on right now, and he will be going a little bit deeper with this particular stint. Interesting call for him to go for that one, as Pablo Lopez seemed to have had some kind of problem. I think he might have been the one who brought out the yellow flag a little bit earlier on, but anyway, that doesn't matter too much. He's down to 11th. Manuel Alvarez down to 10th now because he's put on those new set of tyres. Surprising to see him in so soon, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't expect that to see, especially considering how the black tires perform. But then again, he has a set of fresh tires now compared to everyone around him. And we can see that he's immediately tucking in under the rear of the car ahead, which is Carlos Vinicius, one of the few cars around the track, trying to make a move around the outside. That's very bold, and he actually makes it stick. Well, that's a superb move. A little bit of forcing his way through. But he makes the black tires work out of the pits immediately and gains a position to be in P8, that is.
A fantastic move in the end from Alvarez. We know that he's got the tyre advantage there. He's got newer tyres, but still, it is an impressive move. Are there going to be any pit stops from those up front, though? Is that just a bold strategy call from someone a little bit further back, or is that the kind of norm that we're going to see throughout the day? The top 3 have all stayed out for the moment. Let's see if Pez stays out as well. He does. And later he's obviously going to stay out because he's on the black tyres himself. So, interesting call from Alvarez, really. Can't explain it just for the moment, but maybe he will surprise us all by taking a surprise result in this because of the strategy that he has taken on. It is a bold call from him. And, good to see somebody trying something a little bit different at least.
Yeah, we got 3 different strategies now. Of course, the leader strategy, just have the red swan on, the red shoes on, go as long as you can, and then go for the black ones. And now we have Andre Light who just does the opposite, and now we have Manuel Alvarez, who's perhaps trying something very much different, perhaps even a 2-stop. I can imagine. Cannot see him ending the race on the black ones because they are just way too slow. But then again, who knows what his grand master plan is. Speaking about Peasley in P3 before, or basically front runner strategy, he had to let go quite a lot of Brzezinski ahead, and he's now dropping back very, very far. I wonder if that's down to perhaps some issues or just a lack of pace, because in general it looked quite easy for him to defend from from Brzezinski. He is he was running in P2, but now he's dropped back quite a lot and it's now 13 seconds behind the leader. Perhaps the tires are going down quite a lot.
Maybe. I don't really know what the deal is, particularly with that one. It seems that Peasley is losing a fair amount of time. Actually, really quite a lot of time now, isn't he? Lopez is being caught quite dramatically by Leite as well, so maybe we are going to see some pit stops sooner rather than later. There's top two stay out, but Peasley is losing so much time now, it might be worth a pit stop. Really, really slow as Leite goes through on the inside as Peasley and Lopez trying to get into the pit lane. Peasley can barely get into pit lane right now because his tyres are so gone after only 8 laps. He overtakes Lopez again in the pit lane and they go side by side searching for their pit box. Peasley gets into his first of all and they all just about survive, but goodness me, those tyres were absolutely gone towards the end of that stint. Gomez also follows them into the pit lane as well.
Absolutely. Bravo Racing guys, certainly not Brzezinski is their team owner, and I can imagine that he wouldn't be too happy if he would have seen that. But that makes me wonder if Alvarez actually has just made the absolutely right call. He just overtook both of them in this pit stop. Look at that. They came out behind Alvarez. So he just gained a lot of time by going on to an alternative strategy and switching off the red ones a lap earlier. Ooh, that was close between the Bravo Racing guys. They continue fighting. Very exciting stuff they deliver us. But if I was their team owner, I would have perhaps died of a heart attack already.
Yeah, I think that's probably true, actually, because it's very, very nerve-wracking to watch these two if you're a supporter of Bravo Racing Team right now. Peasley down to the inside of Pedro Lopez then, and he does indeed get through. Both of these guys put on the black stripe tyres in this, or on that particular pit stop, as Manuel Alvarez now gets down to the inside of Carlos Frau, who's going to get, well, neither of them are really getting a big slipstream from Gabriel Prado just in front of them, but it looks like Alvarez has just about got the legs on the straight now, and he's going to be able to get through into turn 12. Yes, he does, and that is 5th place now for him as Prado goes wide into turn 12, and this is turning into a very tasty 5-car train. So lots of battling going on in the mid-pack and further down, but this is actually for a top 5 position now, and maybe even more a little bit later on if Alvarez's strategy does indeed pay off. The old dive into the left-hander, all locking up, of course. But Alvarez has indeed got himself into the top 5 finally, and he's jumped a few of his main rivals as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We speculated about the strategy, but then that was absolutely the right call to make for him, and he's now moving up to another position. As he said, Prado, sorry, is that Prado? Yeah, he just locks up once again, loses 1 position, loses 2 position perhaps, and there's another car on fresh rubber in the form of Peasley versus Prado, both Gabriels now side by side, and Prado loses just another position, but Peasley makes it up. Oh, there's a spin for Alvarez. He was not caught up from behind. He spun all on his own, but that makes 3 positions in 1 for Peasley, and he certainly will be pleased to see that.
Yeah, very, very good smart driving from Peasley in the end there, but you're right, Alvarez didn't get a touch from behind or anything like that. He just went for a spin on his own, I'm afraid. So that was all of his own making. So he's going to have a lot of work to do now. He's on the back of Pedro Lopez as Prado and Frau both battle coming out of turn 9. 3 wide going down towards turn 11 now as they go into the hairpin. Lopez on the very inside, but he goes too deep into the corner, and Gabriel Prado is going to get the cutback. They go side by side, just a little bit of wheel rubbing between them. Carlos Frau, meanwhile, has done the undercut as well at Manuel Alvarez, as these two still go side by side, all over 5th position. It's a 4-car train, and they make a little bit more contact. Prado is on the inside line and trying to outbrake Lopez, but they've both sent it into the corner. And in front, oh my goodness me, one of the cars going around for a spin. Gabriel Peasley, who took 3 in 1 down at turn number 1, has gone and lost 4 positions in 1 corner because he's gone for a spin all on his own. Prado doing more defending here. He wasn't able to keep Lopez behind him, but he might just about be able to keep Alvarez behind him. Great racing between these 5 cars, though.
Absolutely brilliant. I'm on the edge of my seat, I have to say. And these guys showing us exactly that COTA is able. It is possible to overtake around COTA. Oh, Alvarez trying to go to switch back and locking up, of course, into the last corner, shoving Prado once again out of the way a little bit, but he makes it stick, and once again he goes into P5. That is, and the laughing 3rd or laughing 5th in this one was definitely Pedro Lopez, who looked like to be at the end of the whole train a lap ago, and now is back into 4th. Meanwhile, the leaders still haven't pitted. Or have they? No, Brusensky has... No, they have pitted. Sorry, my bad.
And Chirinos have both been into the pit lane, but Andre Lacey hasn't yet because he started on the Blackwater tyres, and so he doesn't need to pit yet. His tyres are still in fairly good order, but 10 laps is the maximum that you can go on the red stripe tyres, so we'll see how long these guys on the blacks can go, but if not very long, then these guys are going to be making an awful lot of pit stops throughout this race.
Well, again, that's just good for us. We're going to see a lot of action. We saw that yesterday. Just one stop or 2 stops made a lot of difference in NASCAR, and it provided us with a lot of good action yesterday, and certainly does once again just today, as we see the fighting still is going on. Of course, now Peasley has now caught up back to the whole train, and he's now trying to overtake Frau around the outside on the much fresher rubber. Despite the spin Peasley had, and Frau just says, "Thank you very much, leave me alone. I'm gonna come into the pits at some point, and you do your thing, and we see how it works out at the very end."
He didn't really want much part of that, did he? Carlos Frau. He was not feeling that at all. So it lets Peasley through as Gabriel Prado goes very, very wide, and the two Gabriels go nose to tail right now through the long right-hander. Oh, very, very close in the 3rd sector right now between these two. Peasley so close to Prado, trying to look for a dive anywhere, maybe down the inside to the final corner. We've seen a lot of guys going for this, even though it's an unorthodox place to go for it. Prado goes wide, he's pushed out wide ever so slightly by Gabriel Peasley, who does indeed make the move in the end. So a good move from Peasley to get through. As further behind, the battle for 9th is on now. It's literally non-stop action so far here at the Circuit of the Americas. Pablo Lopez versus Matias Gomez going down towards turn number 1. Gomez to the inside, but he breaks a little bit early and does indeed get through, actually, because Lopez swings out very wide and indeed lets the Project B car go through. Bravo Racing, kind of, in a word. As Peasley now gets through on Pedro Lopez. Didn't take him very long to catch up, and already he's straight through and looking to do the same here to Manuel Alvarez. Down inside to turn 10. Oh, that was very, very close. There's not much space there. There's not much room to actually drive here. And Manuel Alvarez is trying to cover all bases, but he can't for the moment. Peasley right round the outside. He's going to get a good run onto the back straight, and he's going to get 4th place out of all this.
But Alvarez not completely down the slipstream is quite a lot noticeable in these Indy cars, and he's now looking to the inside. Does he make a stick? He goes onto the brakes very late compared to that, and he spins it once again. The second spin for Alvarez, and he will certainly not be happy about it, especially as he falls back behind the guys on the older black tires just ahead of him once again, and has to overtake them for the 3rd time, this time by Manuel Alvarez, who was looking good on the alternate strategy or on the undercut at the very beginning, but 2 spins is all that it takes, and all the hard work undone for him, unfortunately. But still a long way to go. A little bit more than 30 laps, so he's still a lot of time to catch back up, of course.
So he's doing it right now, straight down the inside again of Carlos Frau. He seems to get through on these guys and then immediately spin and have to do it again. So it's providing great entertainment for us right now because he's doing a lot of overtaking as Manuel Alvarez, but it's not very efficient progress for his race, which is what he's worried about, of course. He's got through on Carlos Frau now into turn 1, or mainly out the final corner, really consolidated it through turn 1. And now he can begin to work on the back of Gabriel Prado, who goes very wide through the opening sector, the opening S's kind of section, goes to the inside, kind of gets out of the way really for Manuel Alvarez. So he's back up to 6th place almost immediately after that spin.
Yeah, absolutely right. Of course, I think we can see quite a huge difference in tire performance now as well in all of these guys running on the black tires. I think all these guys who have started on the black ones now starting to suffer as well, or at least it looks like it, as now Prado has to defend from another spin-out right behind him, which is the number 17 CMP Corsa machine of Carlos Frau. Now into the draft Frau he's looking to the inside. Can he make it stick? No, he backs out of it. Perhaps a wise decision, saying, okay, I'm not going to take any risk, and perhaps spin it like Alvarez just did a lap ago. And that makes Alvarez and Frau stay in the same order that they are. Of course, as I said, these guys are on older black rubber, and that means they have to... Oh, Alvarez really slow through that section, and that nearly caught out Prado, who's also almost running into the back of the white-blue car ahead, and luckily for both of them, they didn't touch it at all. But yeah, I think Alvarez is suffering from some sort of problem at this point. It might have just been tires overheating, but that's absolutely not on game plan for him. And he's trying to keep the guys behind him actually behind, but that's not going to be an easy task after 2 spins on these tires.
Yeah, those tires are going to be feeling the effects of the spins. He goes wide into turn number 1, and Prado is now really crawling all over the back of Alvarez. Let's not forget that this is now the 8th lap of this stint for Alvarez. He was the earliest to pit of all those who did on the red stripe tyres as they go for a big, well, not quite a spin, but a big save for both of those cars in front. Carlos Frau is kind of 3rd in this train, in 8th place overall. And then further behind him, or just behind now, is Matheus Gomez, who's caught up as Prado now tries to get down to the inside of Manuel Alvarez. This is turn number 11. We've seen a lot of moves made here so far, and we've just seen another one because Prado's down the inside. Big contact actually made between Manuel Alvarez and Gabriel Prado, but Prado continues on in 6th place, which he's just earned, and Matheus Gomez has just earned himself 8th place as well, getting through on Carlos Frau.
Yeah, this is some good action we see here in the mid-pack, definitely. Of course, we should keep an eye out back on to the leaders once again. But these guys are so entertaining. I can't keep my eyes off them, actually. And yeah, it's very interesting to see that Alvarez is struggling so much on tires as Gomez runs really wide through that corner. But Alvarez is now locking up in basically every single corner that there is. And that's certainly not helping his tires either. But I'm surprised that these guys are able to run that long on the black rubber and still have some decent pace in it, and as well. Not what I was expecting after seeing the red ones go down so quickly.
Alvarez trying to get down the inside of Prado again here. These two both on the black tyres for now as they go side by side across the line to complete lap 14. And onto lap 15 they go. Alvarez is going to try and start it in a good way right now, holding on to 6th place ahead of Prado, and he does indeed do that. The reason why Matheus Gomez has caught up so rapidly to these guys is because he's on the red stripe tyres, whereas everybody else is on the blacks in this particular group. So he should be able to make his way through. But I'm pretty sure as soon as he does make his way through, it's not going to be too long until he starts to fall back again. So he might well get to the front of the group, only to be overtaken by everybody all over again.
Yeah, but good catch. I didn't see that. Gomez is indeed on the red tires. Yeah, as you said, just makes it... Is he actually warming the tires still right behind them? Looked like it. I'm going a little bit side to side on the way to the hairpin. But now we can see Alvarez once again hanging on to dear life, or P6 it is, as he has to defend once again from Prado, who's looking to the inside. Can he brake earlier? He's trying to make the move stick. Runs a little bit deep, and that once again opens up the door for Alvarez and also Gomez, who's now saying, hey, I'm on the red ones, let me through, I'm faster than you anyways. But these guys ahead having none of it, and they say, yeah, you got to fight for your position, mate. And yeah, it's still going on. A very good fight for P6 and downwards. And speaking about tire performance, we just quickly catch back up to the leaders as we see Prado nearly flying off in that long, never-ending right-hander. Anyways, Leite on the very old, he's still on the same set that he started on. Just 3 seconds behind Chirinos, and the gap is not increasing by very much. I hope I haven't cursed him yet, but yeah, that's one to take notes on for the moment, as we see Prado thinking about a move into turn 1. Sorry, Gomez onto Prado, but he's not making it stick and backs out of it.
In that battle for the lead between Chirinos and Leite, it is staying sort of similar, really, between those two. But last few moments, Leite has started to lose a bit of time to Chirinos in front. So and maybe those blacks are coming towards the end of their life. Not entirely sure how long they're going to be able to go on those. We're on lap 16 at the moment, and we haven't seen anybody who started on the black stripe tyres actually into the pit lane yet. But Matthias Gomez, who's on the reds right now, has hit the wall, it seems, because he's now got Carlos Frau all over the back of him, and all of a sudden, a 3-second gap has just appeared in front of him to Gabriel Prado. So I'm pretty sure it's just a tyre problem for Gomez, and he's not just completely forgotten how to drive, but he's struggling with those tyres at the moment. Carlos Frau goes to the outside of him, but I don't think Gomez is going to have much to really say about this. On the outside goes Carlos Frau, and he makes it through fairly nicely. It seems strange, though, that Gomez has lost so much tyre performance straight away, and tyres, especially the red ones, just seem to hit a cliff, and all of a sudden they don't work anymore. There's no real gradual drop-off. It seems to be very, very sudden.
Yeah, gives me 2013 Formula One vibes. Actually, it is quite compromising. Of course, if you hit the cliff like on the long straight, it's just one more sector to go. But imagine having these sort of tire issues, as Gomez, of course, understandably goes into the pits. Imagine having these hitting this cliff right at the beginning of the SS, for example, would be a horrifying slow lap.
So I mean, that as Gomez is into the pit lane now. That is what we saw with, I think it was Peterly and was it Lopez maybe a little bit earlier on to Bravo Racing Team cars, which stayed out long on the first stint of the red stripe tyres. If you remember, Manuel Alvarez undercut them both massively because he managed to avoid the cliff, his red stripe tyres, whereas Lopez and Peterly hit theirs quite seriously, and so later was able to get back through on them. And Brzezinski was able to get through on them, and they lost an awful lot of time, and that's exactly what you're talking about. You don't want that to happen in Sector 1 because there's so many high-pressure corners around there that if your tyres aren't underneath you, then you really are going to lose a lot of time.
Absolutely right. Just shows how strategy is going to play a big role in here, or tyre strategy at least. Of course, fuel strategy is not so much of a thing. I think the refueling is not allowed anyways. These guys just go for it. No, actually... Wait, I'm not entirely sure about that, but I will try to try to get some information on that. Anyways, yeah, because it looks like everything has settled down a little bit for the moment, as we have just finished lap 18, no, lap 17, sorry, as the leaders went on to lap 18. For the moment, all has settled down a bit. The closest fight on the moment on track is between Prado and Carlos Frau for P7. That's about 2 seconds in between these two cars, and that's basically it, if I'm not completely mistaken.
I think you're right. I mean, Carlos Frau does seem to be quicker than Gabriel Prado, but he seems to be quite tentative in actually making some of these moves. Not that he's making half-hearted lunges, which is the worst thing he can possibly do, but he's just not attempting any kind of lunges at all, really. Choosing to stick behind for now. I think that's a choice, by the way. I don't think he's just scared of going down the inside and trying to make a move. I think it's just a choice. He wants to stay out of trouble. He wants to make it to the end of the race, which is obviously quite important in these ones. So, he is playing it smart at the moment, but if he was able to get through on Prado, I think he'd be able to put a little bit of pace on and go a little bit more quickly. But for the moment, he's just stuck behind Prado and choosing to stay there for now, I think.
Yeah, absolutely right. Of course, choosing to stay behind an opponent can work as well if that's basically free tire saving for you, and if you cannot punch above into the higher positions, you just basically say, "Hi, gonna save my tires, gonna do a long lap longer than you, and have a good one at the very end and catch you out on that then." But then again, of course it makes a difference if Prado, for example, decides to go on reds a lap earlier than Carlos Frau does go on another set of blacks, which he doesn't or shouldn't do, as these guys have to use both set of tires, and we are approaching the halfway mark already. That can be vital at the very end when Frau basically just loses out so much time on a set of reds that he is not able to pounce back against Prado, who's locking up massively, and Frau still saying, "Nah, having none of it, just I like watching your rear." And as I speak of it, Frau actually thinks about it. It was very good very close move. Frau saw Prado running wide just ahead and tried to go for the inside, but didn't make it right. And here we go. Prado onto a set of new tires on this OS front row machinery. He just stops at the pit entry. That's very odd. And Pablo Lopez, the teammate of Carlos Frau, just coming in right behind him. As we also see, another OS front row car has just retired from the race. Anthony Delara. I think that was a few laps ago already. But nevertheless, what tires is he on? Prado?
Let's have a look. Prado is on the blacks again. So 18 laps in this first stint. He's probably going to do another 17 or 18 now, and then maybe 10 laps towards the end of this race. So it seems that 18 laps is the kind of limit for those guys. I believe that Prado and Lopez both started on the black striped tyres. As Gomez has got the undercut here once again. He's on the blacks now for his first stint on the blacks, I think, for this race, or maybe his second. Not entirely sure, but he's into 8th place right now.
Sorry. Yeah, absolutely right. First set of blacks for Gomez, and he just made the undercut work. Now has to hang on for these tires and see where he can end up in the very end. Of course, these guys still fighting for positions all over the lower half of the grid, but still points are given until P15, and with 12 cars just in the race, 11 cars remaining in the race, they will all score good points.
Lete from second place has come into the pit lane now, and he puts on the black striped tyres for the first time today. 19 laps on his first stint there, so he's got to do maybe another 19 or something similar to what he has just done, and then he'll be on the red striped tyres right towards the end of this race. But this is where he needs to really make hay, because he's got some clean air, he's got newer tyres than those in front, and of course they're fresh tyres as well, so he'll be very accustomed to the black striped tyres by this point. He's just done 19 laps on them. He's just got to do the same again now, and he's got some clean air to use some of this pace now. A very important part of the race coming up for Andre Lete in fourth.
Absolutely right. Then again, just Jesus Chirinos basically just has everything in his hand at this very moment. He has 9 seconds ahead of the next car right behind him, who is apparently slightly faster, but not by a country mile every single corner or something. It's just Brzezinski is able to reel in just every so tiny bit every lap, but not making huge of progress towards Chirinos. And Chirinos is absolutely, he's just cruising around the circuit and trying to control everything, and he does exactly that. So that's good news for him. And also that Lighted just went for a new set of tires, and pit stops always can mix up things, and Chirinos basically just goes for, let's say, about another 8 laps on this set of tires before he comes in for his final stop, and we'll see then where exactly he will come out, but I predict it will remain in P1.
I think so, it's going to be interesting to see how long he can go on those tyres. Pretty sure it's going to be about 8 laps, as you mentioned. Don't know, Carlos Frau hasn't been into the pit lane yet, as he said. I think he's the final one to pit from those inside of the top 10 right now. He's on the black stripe tyres for the moment, and currently on lap 20, probably being caught quite comprehensively now by Gomez. Oh, and you can just see the understeer on that IndyCar right now, going through the long right-hander. He probably needs to get those tyres off now, because they look fairly done for. Is he going to pull into the pit lane now? No, he carries on. So clearly deciding that it's the best choice to stay out on the circuit just for the moment. Maybe he's trying to stretch this a little bit further so he can do 2 red stripe tyre stints towards the end. If he does 25 laps here, then I reckon he could do 2 red stripe tyre stints to round off this race. And he's going to be very, very quick indeed in the final half of the race.
That's a good point, actually. I think like that could work, and CMP COTA just proved yesterday that they can work alternative strategies very well. Pablo Lopez just finished in 4th with a very unusual strategy, and no, actually it wasn't that unusual, but it was kind of off sync to everyone around him, and he just tried the same in Indy Lights before, where it didn't work. But then again, we never know, and we know just at the very end, a set of 2 reds, as you said, 2 reds can help Carlos Frau very much, and CMP COTA, of course, as well.
At the moment, Jesus Chirinos is just about to complete lap number 21, which means we're about a lap and a half away from halfway in this race. Gustavo Brzezinski is 10 seconds behind. Gabriel Pichli a further 20 behind him, and then about 10 seconds behind him, it's Andre Leite. Another 10 seconds to Manuel Alvarez, who has got a car right behind him, but it's Carlos Vinicius who is 1 lap down right now. So the closest fighting is kind of going on between Gomez, Prado, and Lopez, that kind of area. But those are all separated by multiple seconds just for the moment. I'm just interested to see how long Carlos Frau is going to go here. Because I'm just watching him going through the left-hander right now. And let's watch him through the long right-hander. This is supposed to be high speed, committed, but it's none of those words right now. Yeah. It's understeery, lethargic. It's just, it's not really wanting to turn in right now. Those tyres are just not nice to drive on at all. And he's soldiering on. He really does want to stretch this out as long as he possibly can.
Perhaps he's just not fancying making a pit stop at all. Perhaps he just had an argument with his pit crew or something. Anyways, back to Rio, right? Back to what we see on screen. It's very interesting to say that he just continues on. As you say, you can see the pain that the driver is going through, wanting to throw the car in and have a good, agile response and make the car go, have grip and work everything just the way it's supposed to. But these S's, as we see them now, certainly, it's just a pain to look at, even for myself.
He's probably going quicker than I would be on new tyres anyway, but that's another issue. Just it's these really long, sustained corners where it's really, really hurting him at the moment. It's not so much the hairpin right here. This might look quite normal, really. If you just watch him go through here now, turn 11, he's quite slow in on the brakes, but if you just look at the apex speed and the exit speed there, it doesn't look too bad. Visually, you can't see too much difference in that, but when you see those kind of sectors like Sector 1, the long right-hander, the final 3 corners, it's really, really slow through there. And it's not because Frau is driving slowly, I might add. Hello? It's because the tyres are not allowing him to go quickly right now. Vinicius is off.
Vinicius is off. Okay, all right. So we got that cleared. Was that a DNF? Please don't be in the DNF. It was a DNF. Oh, that's unfortunate for him. Quickly see in the replay what exactly has happened. But I think he just retired the car, or he just spun off. I don't know that yet. Coming up to what exactly has happened to him, and it looks like he just good point. Yeah, he spun and then decided to call it a day for today's race and return to whatever he's fancying doing otherwise. Now, am I in the live pictures? I'm not. I'm not. Okay, cool. Now we are in the live pictures once again, as we watch.
Don't make that mistake again.
Yeah, no, sorry. It's easy to do so though, yes, if you don't have a replay button, something like that. Perhaps you have something to adjust here and there. Of course, it's just our third stream of a live race in this sim racing league, and mistakes still can happen. But anyways, I'm glad to provide these live pictures anyways, and we saw that we can see some good racing here around RACE9, and we saw that yesterday as well, and I certainly look forward to coming on more of these in the future. Anyways, halfway point has been reached.
He has. I think Carlos Frau has been into the pit lane as well, because he's now behind Gomez, he's now behind Prado, well, he's just in front of Prado, excuse me, although his tyres are still not looking fantastic. Maybe I'm a little bit wrong on that one. Let's see through here. Oh no, he's actually looking pretty good. So he's been into the pit lane. It's clear to see now from Carlos Frau, and he's going to have to make up some progress. 4 seconds just about to Gomez in front in the battle for 7th place. He's got Prado just behind, Lopez not too far behind either. So yeah, it could be a good fight and a good fight back now for Carlos Frau, but he went about halfway in this race in that one as Gabriel Pichli comes into pit lane exactly on halfway hit, put on the new set of black striped tyres. So Carlos Frau, I don't know if he's intending to do 2 black tyre stints here, but you've got to use both compounds. I mean, so surely that strategy is not going to be allowed for him.
Certainly not. And same for Pichli. I wonder why exactly he pits at the halfway point. Both of these strategy calls very odd, to say the least. Right.
He's only made 1 pit stop, hasn't he? Pichli started on the red stripe tyres, and did make one stop for black stripe tyres. He's got another set on now, but yeah, you're right. If he's only going 13 or so laps on those last set of tyres, maybe 14, 15 is what he went, there's still 20 laps to go here over that. So there's no way he's going to be able to make it. If that was his limit on the black tyres, just there, then there's no way he's going to make it to the end of the race. So yeah, he could be in a bit of trouble and might be making one more pit stop than maybe he'd hoped for.
Perhaps it's just strategy, and he's trying to make a one stop more work than everyone else around him. Make that work, especially go on for the Reds at the end and have a good blast through the field. But still, you lose so much time compared to everyone who's staying out on track during a pit stop. It's almost not like I cannot imagine that it's worth it. Odd strategy choice from Bravo Racing Team at this stage of the race. But then again, these guys are running in second, third, and fourth still. Andre Leite aside, sorry, I completely forgot about him, who's somewhere in the mix of these guys as well. So Bravo Racing still on for a very good result, nevertheless, where Peachley actually ends up in the very end. But we're going to have an eye on that as well, how that develops exactly.
Yeah, we are indeed going to see how things pan out, but only about 20 and a half laps to go of round 2 of the RACE9 IndyCar Championship for 2021. 14 rounds this season. This is the second of them, and the first of the kind of out-and-out road courses. We've had one street circuit so far at St. Petersburg. We go to Long Beach a little bit later on for round 4. Belle Isle as well, which is a street circuit round 7. But yeah, for the most of the second, for the entire of the second half of the season, we are free of the street circuits. But we do have 4 ovals to contend with, starting with the Indianapolis Oval, which it comes up to round 6. I don't know quite how many laps. Is that going to be 100 laps, that race, or?
It's going to be the Indy 250, so 100 laps, but we're going to have completely the month of May. We're going to simulate that in a very good way. Thank you for pointing that out, because we're going to have a qualifying day, a bump day, if I'm not completely wrong, and then the Indy 250 on the last weekend, or second to last weekend of May, and have a good run around the famous Indy Oval. I was about to say infamous. Hell no, of course it's not infamous, it's famous. And as we see Brzezinski going into the pits as well, just one lap after his teammate. That's another strategy choice I personally... Oh, Shiros, I just skipped to him and he nearly lost the rear end of the car out of turn 1. He certainly wasn't in for a pit stop, but tire wear, or basically too relaxed driving at the front. If you dominate too much a race, you can get a little bit too seated back or too leaned back in the race. But yeah, he nearly lost it. Luckily for him, the car kept straight, pointing forwards or straight along the road. And Brzezinski exits the pits once again. Ooh, just ahead of Andre Leite. He stays in P2 for the moment, but Leite certainly will try to make a move as long as Brzezinski's tires are not up to temperature. And yeah, that's basically another race-defining moment. If Leite can go ahead and hold Brzezinski up as long as possible, he will be... Oh, that's... Yeah, Leite knows exactly what he needs to do here. And if he's able to make a move on Brzezinski and hold him up, he might have a good shot after his last pit stop, which is coming up at one point or another in the future, because Leite still has the red tires to go for.
Leite still needs to knows exactly what he needs to do here, but so does Brzezinski right now. So with 20 laps to go, he's put on the black striped tyres. Is that going to be his final stop of the day, though? That's the big question. Not entirely sure, really, because he's done about 15 laps, 14 laps. Maybe 16. I can't quite remember when he exactly came into the pit lane, but around that kind of area, 14 to 16 laps on those particular tyres. He's got 20 to go. So he might be trying to get a bit of an undercut on Chirinos, or he was just really struggling on those tyres. Not entirely sure, but Chirinos comes over the line once more, and it's a 52.6 from him. Obviously, this is not going to be a representative lap time from Brzezinski because he was going out the pit lane on this particular occasion. At the end of the next lap, we'll see and compare lap times between the two and see if it's Brzezinski trying to get a bit of an undercut or whether he really is struggling on tyres.
Yeah, you can already see a difference in tire performance, or at least driver's performance and tire performance. He's able to pull away slightly from Leite, and especially in the long corners, you can see that the tires have so much more grip on Brusensky's car. And Leite had a very small window to actually make a move on Brusensky, and the S is certainly not helping him, or Leite's case, but I think the ship has sailed at this very stage for Andre Leite to make a move on Brusensky, and Brusensky is to stay with the ship analogy in clear waters for the moment.
He is just right now. Cups 40 seconds for the lead. So Leite's not exactly letting Brzezinski go here. The two are on differing strategies slightly. Good tyres for Brzezinski as well, because he's been into the pit lane very recently. It's only his first flying lap out of the pit lane. Two are pretty much glued together. They're both catching Shiros from what I can tell on this particular lap, but it is sometimes hard to figure out from the gap that's in the top left-hand side of the screen. Can be a little bit, because you see what he's just magically gained 5 seconds out of absolutely nowhere there. So it's a little bit difficult to tell from time to time. That's why we're going to have a look at the lap times here. A complete lap number 27. Chirinos is into the final corner. In the lead of this race, in control at the moment for the second time this weekend. He's in control of the NASCAR race for a little while. He does a 52.7. Second in the NASCAR race eventually. Sven Guho did just about outclass him. But, it was a close run thing with the differing strategy for Chirinos. Very wide for Andre Leite in the background there. And his very best to hang on to the pace of Brzezinski. It's a 52.7. Jesus Chirinos in the 50s, but where's this lap time going to be for Gustavo Brzezinski coming over the line right now? And it is a 52.0, so 7 tenths of a second gained by Brzezinski on that particular lap time. He's going to get a little bit of a gain from this, but given the gap was about 9 seconds before, I don't think this undercut is quite going to be enough for him to completely jump Chirinos.
No, it was a little bit less than 9 seconds. I think it was 7.5 seconds, something around that. I was monitoring the gap slightly, but I don't know what exactly it was at the very end either. Anyways, you're completely right. It's a hard ask for Brzezinski to catch back up to Chirinos and even make the undercut work. If it's even an undercut or just another, if there's an additional stop coming up for the Bravo Racing guys, for Brzezinski and Beachley to be precise.
Absolutely. The closest battle going on circuit at the moment, Brzezinski versus Leite. And Prado and Lopez not too far away from each other. But when is Jesus Chirinos going to come into the pit lane? I was expecting this lap, actually. So we'll see if it does indeed come through. And he stays out. So deciding to go another lap longer at the very least. Is he going to try and stretch this out to get reds on at the end? Or is he just going to play it safe and put the blacks on towards the end? I'm not entirely sure just for the moment, but he's done a 51.7, so a good second better on that particular lap. Clearly not slowing down too much.
Yeah, perhaps I think at this point he has no choice but staying out and put reds on at the very end, especially considering that Leite is still there as well. Who also has to put reds on, and nevertheless, Leite is known to be fast, as well as Chirinos is, of course. He proved that yesterday. He proved that. He just proves that at the very moment. But still, even if there is a Leite coming on with the red tires right behind him, it's 35 seconds. A big ask, but then again, just 1 or 2 spins for Chirinos, which always can happen. And that would be diminished to basically nothing. And even if Chirinos would have been on fresher black rubber, it's still the black rubber, not the red ones.
Absolutely, there's nothing that you can't really mitigate that in any way. It's just got to kind of deal with it. That's why we have the kind of 2-tyre rule, where you have to use both compounds, the red and the black tyres, because otherwise it would be not very. It'd be quite tactically stale, really. You wouldn't have too much strategy to speak of, and so it's a good thing. You have to use both. 16 laps to go at the end of this one, about 2/3 distance nearly, and we're about a lap and a bit away from that. So Chirinos goes through the long right-hander at the moment. Pablo Lopez, by the way, just in front. But I mean, about the gaps, it says that Lopez is 2 minute 24 behind Chirinos. But he's clearly not, because he's right there. And not quite a lap down, just for the moment. Big lockup going into the final corner, but this is going to cost Chirinos time. I know Lopez did do a good job, of getting out of the way down there on the main straight, but still, Chirinos will have lost a little bit of time, and he will lose a bit of time getting past Pro as well, which is going to be a little bit difficult for him, because that's just the way it is. You're going to have to change your line just a little bit to try and get through.
Yeah, we just saw in the background, Mateus Gomez has been into the pits as well for perhaps his final stop, depending on which tire he's on now. But yeah, you said that overlapping, of course, or traffic in general is a thing for Chirinos to consider at this point. While Brzezinski and Leite right behind them. Oh, wow, that's been into the wall for the OS front row car. That must have been Gabriel Prado, if I'm not completely wrong once again. Let me quickly see that. Yes, exactly. It is Gabriel Prado, but he's lucky to continue undamaged apparently, or just minor damage on the front wing. Yeah, was about to say that it is traffic is something that Chirinos has to consider, while the guys further down the road, Brzezinski and Leite, do not have to consider that yet, but it's coming into play at some point, sooner or later. And yeah, Chirinos, of course, can't be too happy about the Lopez just locking up ahead of him.
Absolutely, it's just something that everybody's got to deal with, really, in this one. But Prado was himself back up and running again. A bit of understeer through the long right-hander, but it might even be something to do with the black tyres, really, the understeer that happens through there. As Gomez is starting to catch front row car, and Lopez, the gap's not really changing to Lopez, really, but they're about 3 seconds apart, 4 seconds maybe. Gomez catching them both. Just made a pit stop, actually, did Gomez. That's him on the black tyres to the end now.
Carlos Frau just has spun out of the exit of turn 1. Guess he was caught out by the bump, and now is also a lap down. So both CMP Corse guys a lap down. But also he is able to continue undamaged, or visually undamaged at least. Nothing we can see from here. So front wing's still there, so all good in basically. Yeah, but Carlos Frau with that pit stop at the halfway point, I think his tires are, despite being a little bit fresher than everyone else around him, especially, he certainly will feel the age of the tires as these guys, the CMP Corse guys. Oh, that was nearly enough for who's that? Pedro Lopez? No, sorry. Yeah, right, Pedro Lopez. Nearly went off flying into the wall, but saved it, and brilliant save from him. It looks like he's going sideways. Has he been into the wall massively? Yeah, absolutely. That's quite some damage there on the rear right, if I can see that, if I spot that correctly.
Big damage for Lopez. Plays for him at the moment, but he's gonna try and get it into the pit lane and rolling about everywhere because suspension is completely broken, as you can see. If Prado goes very wide now, this is the battle for 9th place, by the way. And these two are, well, the battle's about to be resolved, I think. Gomez is on new tyres, so I don't think it's going to be long until he slips on by. They might well both get through. On Pedro Lopez, though, who's was in 6th place, might well drop down to 10th here in the next few moments, letting 4 cars through. Let's see as these guys go over the line. Lopez is still stationary in his box, and so this now becomes the battle for 8th place. And I think Gomez is going to be able to get it now. Is he? Down the inside? No, he brakes early, and he decides to stay behind for now.
We just checked on the replay together, stream and me, that Pedro Lopez was actually having a flat spot on the rear, which is very odd. I didn't see that happen before. At least in IndyCar, as we see in the live pictures. The fight between Prado and Gomez continues, but Lopez just lost control on the straight and went left and right into the wall and thus damaged his suspension right there. But lucky him, he's able to continue. And has he retired?
Yes, unfortunately he has.
Yeah.
Unfortunate for Pedro Lopez came 5th last time out in St. Petersburg, but no such result for him today, and he's out. And that won't be getting any points out of this one, I'm afraid. Matias Gomez, though, down to the inside he goes now of Gabriel Prado. This is over 8th place still. Gomez on newer tyres, though, although not quite as brave on the brakes as Prado, who hangs it round the outside at turn 12. He's going to get in the inside line for turn 13, and maybe he'll carry on in the position. He does just about shove out Gomez in that one, and now going to have to do some more defending through the left-hander. Locks up massively, goes off very, very wide. Gomez keeps it on the road, though, and he's going to go to the outside line through the long right-hander, and there's not enough grip out there for him to really do that, so he stays behind for now. Good defending from Prado, even though he did go very, very wide at the left-hander there. He's still in front. That's all that matters at the moment. Will there be a move at the final corner? It's becoming a bit of a favourite for the drivers to get down the inside there, even though it doesn't happen very often.
Oh.
You can push off your fellow driver. You can push them out wide. That's exactly what Gomez has just done, because he's down to the inside now, and he's going to get this place surely now with Prado on the outside line, and that is that. Matches Gomez goes through, although he goes deep into the corner. The two make contact, but Gabriel Prado is through once more.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant defending from Prado. We saw that especially when how he hang on around the outside of when he just went off the road. But still, he's there and he's fighting, and he basically has to, because that guy right behind him in the Bravo Racing Project B car, is on fresher tires, and that's basically for position in the very end. If Prado is able to stick on a pair of reds at the very end and just have a go and play cats and mouse with Gomez. Gomez is once again trying to go for the inside, now covering the apex. That's exactly how it's done, not like he did in turn 1. He learned from that and just went through. And now it's Prado who's tucked in right under the rear of Gomez ahead of him. Let's see if he can bounce back, but it's very far away, so unless he tries a very late braking move, no, he doesn't. He's braking later, but Gomez has the inside cover, and that's basically position stick and done. Stick to position. Sorry, I'm running out of language talent here. Right. Anyways, Prado up. Now I'm mixing up people even more. Gomez up 1 position. Prado down 1 position. Here we go.
Yeah, there we go. We've got there in the end. But yeah, no, you're right. Gomez is through. There's a good battle between the two of them, though. Prado put up a good defence, and finally he's had to relinquish his lead. While we were watching that, though, Jesus Chirinos has been into the pit lane, and the gap now between himself and Gustavo Brzezinski is now down below 7 seconds ish. It's kind of hard to tell because the gaps fluctuate wildly, as you've seen already. But yeah, Chirinos has been in, and now we're in the final run to the flag, really. 12 laps to go as those guys go over the line right now, but Chirinos looks in control just for a minute. He's put some black striped tyres on, didn't risk it on the reds here. So Brzezinski has got a little bit of a window of opportunity now to try and catch up to Chirinos, but I don't think he's quite going to be able to do it here. And if not, then Chirinos will be taking the championship lead after all this one away from Lucas Murno, but Brzezinski's only going to be 1 point behind as things stand right now, so things hotting up nicely if Brzezinski can not catch Jesus Chirinos in the lead.
I would be surprised if he can. Brzezinski is certainly on the older tires. Funny that you have such a huge issue with timing. For me, on my end, it actually works quite fine, but then again, I have a little bit of different timing shown on the screen, and that makes me see that Chirinos actually has a 4.5 gap lead as all drivers just disappear. Just as I was praising our timing system, it just refuses to stop working. Nice. So the gap was about 4.5 seconds in between these two guys, and I think considering how the gap is on track, that's slightly more realistic. But then again, this track is known for having some funny moments when it comes to timing itself. Nevertheless, Brzezinski can see Chirinos just ahead of him. It's a little bit of fresh air and tarmac in between them, but never seeing your opponent, even if you're on older tires, certainly can change your mind to attack forward even further and perhaps even reel in your opponent just ahead.
I think that Chirinos actually made a mistake through turn 11 there on the run to the back straight from what I could see. 52.2 for him on that lap, which is not bad, but Brzezinski goes quicker with a 51.5, so
All right.
7/10 of a second quicker on that occasion as Andre Leite carries on for another lap. I think he'll be in at the end of this one to put the red stripe tyres on, and we'll see where he can get up to, but I can't see him. Well, he's going to drop below Manuel Alvarez, I think, but he might well be able to catch up again by the end of the race. We'll see about that, but certainly two kind of groups of cars forming on the road right now. The top 5 who are battling all over the win, and then the kind of bottom 4 who are battling over 6th place. Carlos Frau, Lopez, Gomez, Prado, all very, very close together. The 4 of them separated by about 13 seconds on the road as it stands.
Unfortunately, I just lost pictures. I hope it's all good for you.
I can still see everything.
Nice.
The stream can't. Sounds of it. So I guess I'm going to have to describe it for the next couple of moments.
Yes.
We get it back. But it shouldn't be too long. Hopefully, Chirinos is coming up on the back of these battling cars, by the way. The ones who I said were battling all over 6th place. They've got slightly closer, I have to say, and they are all in the view now of Jesus Chirinos, who's going to have to try and get through. He's going to have to deal with the dirty air and the different lines that he's going to have to take, possibly be a bit distracted by them as well. It is a little bit distracting having one of the cars in front of you, but actually that black and orange one, distracting. But anyway, Prado goes through the final corner now, goes wide, lets Jesus Chirinos through fairly easily there, although quite getting out of the way for the moment. He's going to swing to the left-hand side and will indeed get lapped now. See Brzezinski, another 51 for him as Leite carries on again, staying out for the moment. Still about 6 seconds between the two.
I'm afraid that we lost pictures for the moment, and I'm trying to get it back, but I cannot promise so. Unfortunately, you just have to keep on going. Yeah, Jonatas, you're right. F. That's exactly what describes what just happened. Sorry, Ian. You just have to carry on for a brief moment, and I'll keep you posted as soon as I have news.
I'm not sure. Surely you should be able to rejoin the game at this point. I'm not entirely sure though, really, at this point. But yeah, the battle's just closing up at the moment. Not too much in the way of battles, but they're bubbling up just ever so slightly. Under 5 seconds now between Chirinos and Brzezinski, and surely there is going to be a fight between them sooner rather than later. The back, Matias Gomez is catching up to Pablo Lopez, who's still in the race. Lopez still in the race, but didn't score any points last time out. Spanish Lopez. Looks like he's going to score some here today. Chirinos is catching them both. Put a lap on them both. Could add some spice to the battle as well. Brzezinski now has to deal with Prado in the next few moments, which is going to lose him a bit of time, so needs to go out above 5 seconds again.
Right. Unfortunate. I just realized. I think that's basically the end of our stream for today, because it's not. We cannot reconnect, and it looks like for whatever reason, either the bot. Yeah, I just realized the bot that we were on has been removed from the game. So that's basically it for our stream for today. That's a very unfortunate ending, especially it was all just heating up. Ah, man, that's big F. Everyone just put an F in the chat, just like Jonatas did a few moments ago. But, well, not much we can do about it. Technical difficulties, of course, happening, and very sorry about it. And, yes. Right. But I am afraid not much we can do about it in general. So I say we just end it here in the end. Thank you all for watching. You know when we back for the next few races.
3 weeks until the next race at Barber Motorsports Park. 11th of April, I think the next race is.
All right, thank you very much. That's very good, and so you know when to tune back in. And thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it until the very end, the very abrupt end. And see you all in the next one.